Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy, Atypical Security Guard. I want to welcome you to another episode of the Just the Tip knife review. Today, we're going to be talking about the CCANKU 1149 full tang fixed blade karambit. Now, I have been looking for the best EDC knife for me. I have a couple of things that I kind of want to have available in terms of an EDC knife. I am always looking at EDC knives, not as pocket knives, but as a secondary defense system. I always carry a firearm. Sometimes that's a snub 38, similar to, say, this one. Or I'll carry a semi-automatic, like a, Glock 26. That could be similar to, say, this one. But you never know. Sometimes you can be placed in a situation where you're caught off guard. Maybe your strong side is compromised, and I'd like to have something that I can utilize as a secondary weapon system. So the knives that I'm looking for are always going to have to be full tang. Number two, I absolutely love the draw ring, being able to kind of index your finger into that to retrieve it, and then have some place to have your finger there for extra leverage. So this knife has been absolutely amazing. I love the fact that it's constructed of D2 steel. I love the design of it. You have a cutting surface on both sides. So this is a dual cutting surface here. Now, this one particular knife, it doesn't come with any scales that are put on it. So I just kind of wrap this hockey tape around there. I think that lack of putting anything else on this probably lends to the low cost. I mean, this knife is coming in at about 24, 25 bucks on Amazon. I am not sponsored by this company. I've just actually really fallen in love with these knives. Now, this knife is very similar to the TDI law enforcement knife, the K-Bar TDI law enforcement knife that everybody is familiar with. What makes this knife so awesome is that generally for law enforcement purposes or anyone who's carrying it, if you're in a situation where you're having to utilize a knife in a self-defense protective situation, more than likely the stress of the situation is going to cause some issues, even subconsciously, some issues with your fine motor skills. So having a knife like this that is just naturally fit in the hands, and you're able to utilize this knife in a very primal way without having to open it, put a lot of thought behind where your fingers are going, where your thumb is going. That has made this an essential piece of equipment for law enforcement officers and knife enthusiasts and EDC enthusiasts. I find this knife to be very similar in terms of application, usage, and ease of accessibility. When this is placed into your pants, I prefer a reverse grip, kind of that ice pick grip like this. I'm always having this ring be available right in my pocket and being able to get that finger in for that draw and then having a good grip with my thumb on the top. Now, one of the reasons why personally I do not utilize the TDI knife in the capacity that I'm talking about using the CCANKU knife is that here in Oregon, you have to open carry your knives. Any concealment of your knife is actually considered a felony. So while I think that this is a great option, unfortunately, the way that the sheath is designed for this knife, it does not lend itself to being able to be pocket carried. I would have to maybe jerry rig something up or put this in a way that would have this clip be exposed, but then you're not getting a really consistent draw. And trust me, I have tried a lot. It's just not something that I feel comfortable and confident with. Now, I can take this situation and then go with the sheath that comes with the CCANKU knife and simply just put an ulti clip on it, and then I can wear this in a pocket carry position. So pocket carrying this, having that knife, the index ring be available, and then quickly deploy that. Now, here in Oregon, and you'll have to check your own local listings, just by having the clip exposed, similar to how you would do on a pocket knife, that classifies via statute as open carry. So all of the knives that I look into to be a secondary weapon system, EDC situation for me, they have to be able to be worn in a pocket configuration. Now, I've utilized knives similar to, or like this Benchmade Adamas, which is a great knife, very expensive knife, but much bigger in terms of size. I mean, look at the distance on those two knives. And then placing this knife with an ulti-clip, you know, it gives you a great weapon. It gives you a great knife, a very dependable knife. But you got, you know, guys, when it comes to your EDC, every bit of ounce seems to add up. When you've got your firearm, maybe you have an extra magazine, you know, maybe some pepper spray, and then you start adding your EDC knives to it, it all starts to add up weight-wise. And there comes a point where you have to think about comfortability. Otherwise, you're not going to carry these items. So one more thing that I wanted to talk about, I've, excuse me, had people that have kind of been, you know, kind of naysayers in terms of whether or not a knife like this is a feasible option as an EDC knife. And one of the conversations is that, listen, you want something that is going to give you more distance, something that's going to put you in a position where you're able to either keep someone at bay or reach someone a little bit further out. I completely disagree. My method of carry for an EDC knife in that secondary position off the weak side is only for defense. I know that everybody thinks that their knife system is going to be for defense, but having something that's a little bit longer, that gives you something that's also giving you a little bit more reach, a little bit more leverage on the part of the person that you're potentially dealing with. I am okay with this knife only being something that is utilized up close and personal, because I'm only thinking about deploying this in a situation where my hands are tied up, maybe I can't get to my initial weapon system, and I am looking at this as something to break contact and create space to get to that firearm or get out of the fight. I am not looking to get into a knife fight. I understand that sometimes, you know, you don't have a choice in those situations, but every system that I have in terms of the knives that I carry, it's simply to break contact. It's simply to be able to create space so that I can get to my primary weapon system or get out of the fight completely. So, big fan of this knife. And also, one of the great aspects of this knife over the TDI is that it's half the price. Half the price, great sheath, throw an ulti-clip on there, and you have yourself a very good weapon system. Now, I will say that I in no way have any intentions of not utilizing the TDI knife. This, much like it was intended when it was created, will just go onto my duty vest or onto my duty belt and will be a backup system while I'm working. So, work knife, EDC knife, covering the same usage, same needs, and being able to be protected potentially in that situation if I have to utilize it. What do you guys think? What are your thoughts on the TDI? What are your thoughts on the CCANKU? Are you fans of it? Do you like it? Do you think this is a good option? What do you think of, let's put this back in here. If I can get this in there. There we go. Man, the retention on that sheath is crazy. What do you think of that setup with the ulti-clip, utilizing that as a secondary weapon system? Give me your thoughts. And as always, be great.